guys. Welcome. Oh. Hey guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm really excited for all of you to be here. If you don't already know who I am, I'm Heather. I'm a master certified life coach and a shamanic energy healer with a master's degree in applied behavior analysis and a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I've spent the last 5+ years helping empaths and highly sensitive people navigate through their spiritual awakening without absolutely losing their minds in the process. I've been where a lot of you are, the feeling that something bigger is happening inside of you, but nobody around you really quite understands it or gets it. The exhaustion of being the most aware person in the room, and the question that really lies underneath everything, which is, who am I and what am I here to do? That's why I created this challenge that starts today and will go on for 5 days until Saturday. It'll be the same time, 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. This challenge isn't about adding more practices to your plate or giving you another 5-step system. It's about helping you remember what you already know on a soul level, and then really building a very true and real, genuine relationship between who you are on the inside and how you're really showing up in the world on the outside. So like I said, I'm really glad that you're here, whether you've been following me for a while or you just happened to stumble in today or signed up through another resource. You belong in this room. So thank you so much for showing up today and for making the decision to take that first step in really creating a more aligned life for yourself. You've truly prioritized yourself and began the process of investing in your best asset, which is you. So before we dive in, I just want to mention something. If at any point this week something comes up for you and you want personal guidance, I do written channeled messages where I go into the Akashic records and bring back what your guides specifically want you to know. If this is something that resonates with you, just send me a DM and I'll provide more details. Or if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. Whatever, if you're watching the replay, you can put them in the comments as well. I will be keeping up and checking on those. Okay, so let's get started. First, I want to discuss why any of this even really matters. So most people that you encounter every day, and maybe this might be you included, you're living your life on autopilot and just kind of going through the motions and doing the same thing every day, reacting to life instead of what's actually happening and actually experiencing it. So one of the things that we're going to cover today is mindfulness, which is really the foundation of everything. You can't change what you can't see, and you can't see anything clearly if your mind is 3 days ahead of your body. Most people are too focused on the past, old conversations, experiences that they were like, oh, I should have done this instead, or the future, whether that's your career, what's going to happen tomorrow, what I should make for dinner. It really diminishes the capacity to cherish the present moment, which is honestly where everything is actually happening for you and where everything truly exists. And that's how you really go about experiencing life, is paying attention to the things that are happening in that present moment. So the other thing that we're going to talk about is gratitude. And this isn't the same thing as toxic positivity. I know that that term is getting thrown around a lot on social media right now, and for good reason, but gratitude is not the same thing. It's actually a frequency shift. There's even science that backs this theory up, that gratitude literally rewires the neural pathways in your brain, and together, both mindfulness and gratitude, these practices are kind of the on-ramp to everything else that we're doing this week. So let's talk about both of those for a little bit. There's a key difference between being alive and being present. Like I said earlier, when you're just alive, you're going through the motions, you're on autopilot, you're not really finding any joy or any passion in the things that you're doing. You're just like, okay, I get up, brush my teeth, take a shower, maybe go to the gym, go to work, come home, feed the kids, take them to basketball practice or whatever the case may be, and then go to sleep and I wake up and I do it all over again. That's being alive. That's not the same thing as truly living. So when you learn mindfulness and really being aware of what's happening to you in the moment, that is being present. So that adds a key difference because you are truly getting the full human experience. You are able to pay attention to the things that you see around you, the sounds that you hear, the things you smell, the taste of the food that you're eating. When you really slow down and pay attention to those things, you really add flavor to living your life. And when you're able to be in the present moment, you are truly learning to have that true mind body spirit connection. And you can look at your emotions, you can look at your mental, the thoughts going through your mind in a very different way, because you're now training yourself to really pay attention to what is coming up for you and why, and what those triggers are. And also, just finding the beauty in the world, which is so important for me in experiencing life, because what's the point? I mean, who wants to go to work every day and come home and just not have anything to be joyful about? So when I go and I drive or something, like, oh, there's one little random red flower on the side of the road. Oh, wow, that's so beautiful. Or look at the shape of the clouds. That's so beautiful. Or just really anything. But when you bring that mindfulness to your consciousness, to your awareness, you find these little things that really make the whole point of existence just a little bit better, in my opinion. I also want to talk about dysregulated nervous systems, because this is something that is also being talked about a lot, because it's a real thing. So a lot of us have gone through childhood trauma, toxic relationships, or pretty much anything that, isn't light, love, and rainbows. And it affects your nervous system, and that energy kind of stays there. And so the fight, flight, or fawn response becomes your default setting. So you're really just going through the motions. Your body is now starting to automatically go into this threat scanning mode, where your subconscious is scanning people that you meet. Is this person safe? Is this person not safe? Situations you might find yourself in. Is this safe? Is this not safe? And that takes a lot of your body, your energy to really do. So when you take the steps to calm that nervous system and make yourself feel safe, it interrupts that, and it allows more mindfulness to really come through and be a part of your awareness. And along with that, doing the inner work helps. So there's plenty of tools out there that help with regulating your nervous system. And it's really important to remember that whether it's self-love, mindfulness, gratitude, compassion, understanding, any of these things that we should be expressing to each other and to ourselves, um, that that regulated nervous system underneath kind of has to be there as a foundation for all of this to kind of work, and let your body feel safe and be able to pay attention to the things that are going on around you. And gratitude is also not a performance. It's a frequency shift. Like I said, you're not pretending that everything is fine. You're not light, love, and rainbows all the time, but you're training your attention towards what's real and good, both simultaneously. And to dive into this a little bit more, there's two kinds of gratitude. One is a reaction, and the other is a lifestyle. So when you're using gratitude as a reaction, this means that if someone presents a gift to you, you're like, oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Or if something happens in your outer world, you're like, wow, I'm really grateful for that. That is a reaction to something. When you're trying to make gratitude a lifestyle, you really have to train your mind to find the appreciation and the gratitude in the little things, not just the things that you receive per se, but in everything. Like, for example, I love my music. I'm so grateful that I have ears to hear it with. Or I love looking at the pretty flowers or smelling the pretty flowers. I'm so grateful to have the eyes to see them, or the nose to smell them. I'm so grateful for my children. I'm so glad that I was able to find this relationship and have these kids and have this wonderful, experience. So there's different layers of the gratitude practice where you have that surface level, like, oh, I'm grateful for my cat. Okay, well, why are you grateful for your cat? I'm grateful for my cat because my cat has taught me unconditional love. I'm grateful for my cat because she cuddles with me at night and makes me feel good when I'm having a bad day. So there's different layers that you can really focus on when you're trying to bring that into your awareness. And that'll be important for when we get into the actual practical tools that I'm going to share with you today. So these two key points, gratitude and mindfulness, are where spiritual awakening actually begins. A lot of people talk about the chakras or they talk about, manifestation, but when you build this foundation, which is what this whole week is all about, you have to kind of start at the beginning. And the beginning for me was mindfulness and gratitude. And this is not some big dramatic experience like a Kundalini awakening or a yoga retreat. This is just taking a few moments out of your busy day to really notice, and then another until it becomes second nature. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to get you started on that today. I want to share a story with you. So when I first started going through the last leg of my spiritual awakening, because my awakening kind of bounced around quite a bit throughout my whole life, but this last leg of my awakening, where I actually put these tools that I'm going to teach you into practice, I was not very grateful for the things that I had. I mean, I was to an extent, but I had to really work and be consistent with making it a lifestyle. Same thing with mindfulness. If anybody of you know, if any of you know me, you know that I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD. I've suffered from depression, anxiety, and my mind is just constantly going all the time. So it's really hard when your thoughts are scattered to pay attention to, what's happening in the present moment. So I started with these practices when I would be driving. I would start saying things that I was grateful for. I'd start with three things. And then it would be like, okay, well, and be careful doing this because obviously you want to pay attention to the road, but in the peripheral vision, like seeing the trees, the different kinds of trees, the flowers, an animal on the side of the road, not a dead animal, but a living one. Just things that really bring you joy and bring and give you that kind of aha moment. We're like, wow, that's really beautiful. And to appreciate it for more than just, oh, I saw it. Most of the time we don't even see it, especially driving. We kind of get into that autopilot mode where, I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced at least once where you're driving somewhere and you just don't remember the trip because you get into that more meditative state actually. And same thing with when you're in the shower. So I would start and I would do in the shower, I would start thinking of things I was grateful for. And then when it got past that beginning stage, I have a painted rock that my dad gave me. It's painted like a shark, which I love sharks. But I would carry it in my pocket, especially to work. And every time I would feel it in my pocket, I'd be like, okay, that was my trigger. What are three things that I'm grateful for? Or it would remind me to set back and calm down my mind and really pay attention to the things that were going on around me. And this is how it starts. And the more, just like anything else, the more often you do it, the more you practice, the more you pay attention, the more you retrain those neural pathways in your brain to make it a practice that you don't have to think about anymore. It becomes second nature and really does become part of your lifestyle. So the first tool that I want to share with you, it's called the 60-second reset. And like I said, these are very beginner tools just to get you started. And once a day, at the same time every day, your choice at when that could be. You could take my shower or before bed or when you first wake up, whatever, as long as it's consistent at the same time every day. Stop what you're doing and answer three questions out loud, or you can write them down. Where am I right now? What am I feeling in my body? And what's one thing in front of me that I'm grateful for? And this practice, I don't want you to list things out, just one thing, real and specific. Like I said, it can include those multiple layers that we talked about. But this will really kind of reconnect your mind and your body to your conscious awareness. Because where am I right now? You're paying attention to your surroundings. You're paying attention to, what you hear, what you see, what you're doing physically. What am I feeling in my body? Okay, well, am I feeling anxiety? Am I feeling, you know, nervousness? Am I feeling happiness, joy? What really is coming up for you in your emotion? And even in your physical, like maybe your stomach hurts, whatever the case may be. And then we're going to incorporate the mindfulness and the gratitude. We're going to intertwine them. And what's one thing in front of me that I can see that I'm grateful for? And that will help you kind of practice for the other tool that I'm going to give you as well. So for one example could be like, I'm grateful for the way the light is coming in through the window. These things that you can name can be literally anything. And it's difficult sometimes when you're like, okay, I'm doing this, what else am I grateful for? But it does get easier, I promise. um, and this is also a good way to help you reset your nervous system as well, because like I said, you're reconnecting the mind and the body. And this is really complementary for a lot of the other nervous system regulation tools that are out there. I've tried hypnosis, I've done meditation, I've done all kinds of things, but this mindfulness and gratitude, these tools that I'm teaching you, go hand in hand with that very well, because you're not only just doing the work on the nervous system itself, like the other things, but you're now bringing your mind into it and making those connections to where they'll start to work together a little bit more easily. So this 60-second reset, it works because it interrupts that autopilot mode that we tend to find ourselves in a lot. And here's what's interesting. When you start becoming more mindful and paying attention and clearing your mind, maybe you can't clear it completely, and that's okay. But when you start paying attention to things and reconnecting that mind, body, spirit um, in your energy field, you're often going to start noticing things, whether that's synchronicities like numbers repeating on the clock, or license plates, billboards, or songs on the radio, or finding feathers or coins. Like there's so many different ways. I actually have a free guide. If you're interested, I can share that with you on different signs that spirit's trying to speak with you. But when you open up your mind to paying attention to what's going on around you, what's going on within you, you'll be able to notice these things. And a lot of them are things that your guides have been trying to tell you for years, but you haven't been able to hear it because of the noise in your mind, the noise of the constant thinking about the past or the future, or going through the motions, that autopilot mode. You really miss a lot of the things that are out there because they are constantly trying to get in touch with you in one way or another until they find something that sticks. And we'll talk more about that on another day during this week. But like I said before, I work directly with spirit during these channeling sessions and these Akashic Records readings that I have. So if you're interested, again, in learning more about these signs and synchronicities that you might be finding and what they mean, let me know. We'll talk about it more at the end after we talk about this other tool that I want to share with you. So the second tool, which is for gratitude, it's a very bookend practical tool that you can do at the beginning and the end of the day. So the first thing in the morning when you wake up, before you look at your phone, before you talk to your kids, before you make breakfast, before you even get out of bed, just name 3 things out loud that you're grateful for, or in your mind if you have a sleeping partner. 3 things that you're grateful for. And then again, last thing that you do at night before you go to sleep, name 3 more. They don't have to be big things. You don't have to start with the multi-layer things. They don't even have to be different. Just be consistent. Do it every day. It's all about practice and consistency, not, how deep can I get, or, how creative can I be? That will come with time. You're training your brain to look for the good before it looks for that threat assessment and goes into that default mode. So it's important to do it in the morning and the last thing before you go to bed, because that's when your brain is more open to being trained, because you, at the beginning of the day, you haven't had the whole day's like part of experiences that are in your mind already. So it's kind of like starting with a clean slate. And then the last thing before you go to bed, when you get into that gratitude mindset, It can affect your dreams. It can affect how you wake up. It can really set the tone for that other, period of time when you're sleeping, when you go into the different brainwave states. So it really does affect many different things in your life. And you'll start to see little differences, maybe with your mood or with how you react to situations at first. But as you consistently start doing it and training your brain, that nervous system regulation will start to happen. And you'll notice that when you go into a situation or an experience where you might have reacted in a more negative way before, now you're training your brain to find gratitude, and you start to perceive things in a very different lens, which is really helpful too. And like I said, these are foundations for everything else. So they're really important groundwork that we're laying in order to do a lot of the other things that we're going to talk about this week. So, and like I said, the more often you do it, the more creative you'll get. It's actually really fun once you start doing it for a while. Okay, so that is day one. I gave you two simple practices, the 60-second reset and the bookend gratitude practice. And that's literally all I'm asking you to do until tomorrow's session. Very easy, very simple to incorporate into your busy day, not a big ask. But here's what I want you to notice. Like I said, we didn't start with chakras or speaking to your guides or past lives. We didn't jump into all of that, which is a big part of the spiritual awakening journey. We started with where you are right now, because that's very important. That's how this works. You can't build anything real without a foundation. And for me, mindfulness and gratitude are the foundation where everything else stands upon, because you can't speak to your spirit guides if your mind is constantly elsewhere. You can't notice the signs that they're trying to send you if you're not being present in the moment, and many other things. So tomorrow we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to move more out of the mind and into the rest of the body. And for a lot of you, this is going to be the most powerful thing that you do all week, because a lot of us have stuck energy and I don't want to say issues, but a lot of things that need to be looked at when it comes to, feeling safe or secure, financial stability, having a secure job, dealing with your kids, your creativity, your passion, your willpower, your, stepping into your power, have being confident, all of those things. We're going to jump into that tomorrow. And that's going to be focusing around the lower chakras, which are part of your energy body. And that's kind of the foundation beneath the foundation. So we have the mind, body, spirit. So today we talked about the mind and the body a little bit. Tomorrow it'll be more about the spirit, which is, like I said, the lower chakras. If you've ever felt chronically anxious, creatively blocked, or like you keep giving your power away, you are trying to work on your healthy boundaries, you're trying to feel safe and secure with who you are and where you're at in the universe, then our discussion tomorrow will go into that and explain a lot of that for you. And again, I'll provide more practical tools that you can incorporate into your busy everyday life. So I will be here again tomorrow at the same time. Be here. And tonight, do those practices that I told you about today. Don't just think about them. They're very simple, they're very easy, and they can be a lot of fun if you allow them to be. So make sure that you do them. And the shift happens, that frequency shift I talked about. It really happens when you begin doing it and not just knowing or understanding the concept. You actually have to physically do it. So one last thing before we go, we just spent 25 minutes or so opening your awareness, beginning that process, waking up to your attention and your consciousness. And a lot of you are going to go about your business tonight. If you do these practices, you might start noticing things that you haven't noticed before. Like I said, synchronicities, different feelings, different emotions, different impressions, different, if you're an empath, or if you are just really in tune to your body, you might begin to start seeing these new things come up. And if you want to know what your guides are specifically trying to say to you right now in this moment of your awakening, as you go through these foundational tools, as I said earlier, I can offer you written channeled messages, where I actually go into the Akashic records and I bring back what's actually there for you, what your guides want you to know. It will be a written message that I'll deliver to you within 24 to 48 hours. Just shoot me a DM. Like I said, we can talk about more about how that works. And this is the perfect week to get one. I'm even offering these sessions to you at a discounted rate for coming. So if you're interested, let me know. If you're watching the replay, just let me know that you heard the offer during the free challenge replay, and I'll still honor that discount for you. So thank you all so much for coming. I'm really grateful that you all decided to be here, especially after this crazy eclipse energy that we are having. So thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.